We are back. Warp and Woof Radio, RadioNext.tv at the Cool Groove site. We come to you Wednesdays from 11 to 11:50. Grateful for your presence here with us today. You can pick us up here live or later on the archived show that you can find on our websites. You'll also be able to pick up the podcast later on, which is on iTunes and also on our website. You can go to 3 different websites to pick up all of this. You can go to my website, warpandwoof.org. That's WARPANDWOOF.org. Or you can go to ComeniusInstitute.org.com. Or you can find us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, Comenius Institute YouTube channel. You can actually subscribe there, and so when our Truth in 2 comes out on Tuesdays, or when we do our Wednesday radio show, all of those things are archived there, and you can find us there pretty easily. Comenius Institute is what sponsors this show. At Comenius, we cross 3 bridges. One is the bridge into college, where I work with young Christian college students at IUPUI, helping them to think Christianly about their subjects. I also teach there with a great group of faculty. Grateful to have that opportunity. I teach a course there called Reading, Writing, and Inquiry, helping young college students how to think, which is an awful lot of fun. I do that on Tuesday and Thursday mornings from about 9 till noon. Then I spend time with folks after that and actually before that in meetings discussing whatever it is on their heart. Second bridge that we cross is into community, which is exactly what we're doing right now. One of the big issues I think that's important for us as a community in Indianapolis for Christians is that Christians be introduced to each other. And so we cross that bridge by having a radio show showing off Christians who are doing good throughout the Indianapolis area based on Titus 3, 1, 8, and 14, do good, do good, do good. And our third bridge is into culture, and we do that in many different ways, not the least of which is our Truth in 2 programs that come out, 2-minute video every Tuesday morning, and you can find them archived in those spots that I just mentioned. You can also be assured of our writing and speaking on all different topics. In fact, for the next 2 weeks, I'll be out of town on Wednesday. I'm traveling to speak in various venues. I've got a couple of obligations, especially as it relates to writing. So we're doing cultural connections all the time, constantly thinking about everything from a Christian vantage point. But today is the second bridge, our bridge into communities, and we're really happy to have Pastor Van here with us from the Chin community down in Southport area below, just south of Indianapolis proper. Pastor, we're really grateful for your presence. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
We are wanting to know a little bit about you, so let's start with biographical information. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Yes, I'm from Burma. I have 4 brothers. I'm the eldest, and my mom and dad are still here. And I got married back in 2017, June. And I have 1 daughter. She is like 16 months now.
Nice.
And I'm currently a pastor at Chin Global Baptist Church, as you mentioned, down in the Southwood area.
Well, let's talk about your church, because, if we're going to talk about bridging cultures and the importance of bridging cultures between any group of people and somebody else, we need to know a little bit about that. So let's start with an understanding of your church. Tell us about how many people attend, where it's located, and maybe what your mission at your church is.
Well, our church has been going on for 19 years. It was there since inception, which was in 2000 of August 20 of 2000, and it's 19 years now. And at that time, there were only 12 people. And as time moves on, it's been growing exponentially. And right now, we're at 3,050 members in our church. And weekly attendance, of course, is like 60-70% of the people, because we have young kids and people who have to work to out of states and stuff and like that. So as we count, it's been like 70% of the whole congregation's attendance.
That's impressive. When I think about the issue of the Chin population in particular, you had said to me in one of our meetings that you had one of the largest populations of your people group in Indianapolis. Is that right?
That's correct. So the estimate is about, let's say, 50,000 Chin refugees in the whole country, and about 20,000 resides in the Indianapolis area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are the other population centers?
Some of them can be found at Washington D.C. area, Maryland, and then the other is Dallas area, down in Texas, and then Louisiana, Kansas, Des Moines, Iowa, and like that will spread all over the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you just mentioned to everybody that you come from Burma, you probably need to give us a little bit of background to that. And you also use the word refugee.
Yes.
So kind of connect Burma to refugee for us, for everybody listening.
Yeah, Burma until 2010 has been ruled by military government, the dictatorship. And since 2010, we had the opportunity to have a first elected government official. But before that, it was, like I said, ruled by a military government. So it was very oppressive. There have been documents about how like many violations of human rights and religious, like minority, and like even ethnic cleansing, and it was really pretty bad. So lots of minorities had to flee the country to take refuge in another country where they can have a safety and security. And we, the Chin people, just one of them. And like around since 1987, we have like brothers and sisters who had to move to India and fight for freedom, and it's successful, unfortunately. And from that, we have like these generations of people who've been oppressed by the government, so they have to cross the border to go to Malaysia, where we can apply for refugee status, because we have our UNHCR office there, and that's how we will be granted to become refugees and moving on to third country or the developed country like Australia, New Zealand, and Norway, and Denmark, and most of them come to the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, we're thankful for the government of the United States of America.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of those things that, so I'll just make a little political commentary here for a moment.
Go ahead.
One of the things that we constantly talk about in this country is illegal immigration.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we ought to talk more about is legal immigration.
Yes.
And specifically for people who are terrorized in their own country and desperately need a place to live in safety and security.
And we are illegal refugees. We've been screened like several months at Malaysia, whether our stories are true and whether or not our country is saved to return. And after a long period of screening, then we are allowed to come to the United States. Like, let's say I've got a card, which means I've been granted to be a refugee, and I have to wait for about at least a year. Some people, they have to wait 2, 3, 4 years, and then after that, we come to the United States legally. We enter through New York or Los Angeles, and we have this card that says that we are granted to enter the United States legally, and we are issued what we call a permanent resident card, what we call a green card, and after 5 years, we are allowed to apply for naturalization, and that's how we become a citizen.
That's great.
Yeah.
And are you now a United States
citizen?
citizen?
I am. Since I've been here for almost 10 years.
Yes. That's wonderful. I've always, and again, this is more of a political comment, I suppose, but I've always been so grateful for those naturalization ceremonies.
It's great. When we go there, it's like 70, 80 people being granted to become citizens, and most of them are from different countries, like let's say from 50 different countries with 90 different people. And it is great to see people being granted to become citizens of the greatest country in the world.
Yes, it is a great country, and I always want to say that to everybody. It's one of the things that to me is a desperate need to say to everybody that this is a great country, and we're grateful not only for the greatness of what it provides now, but for you and for your people. This is a marvelous thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It strikes me too to say that there's a long period of time that you had to wait
Yes, that's
in
correct.
order to
Yeah.
get here.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It's been some of us. For some of us, it's painful because over there we have to stay illegally. We're granted this card, but it's not necessarily recognized by the government of Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the right to arrest us for being there. And but by God's grace, most of them make to the developed countries.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I would mention is we're forever grateful to the American people because we are your spiritual descendants.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Carson and Laura from the United States came to the Chin Hill back in 1819.
Wow.
And the first minister there, they were the first couple who preached the gospel to our people, and that's how we became Christians. And right now, it's like 95% of us considered to be Christians.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're grateful.
This goes back to the issue of church history. So
Yes.
we could say a word or two about church history here and say how important that is to study history and to know where you've come from.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, even like the capital city of Chin State, what we call Hakka, we had one minister from the United States, Johnson. All of their family members even speak Hakka like fluently. Yeah, if you look at them, they're Caucasian, but they speak Chin very fluently. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, like I said, we're forever grateful for this country, for both for spiritual and for physical safety.
Yeah. Both important, of course, in a place like the world in which we live today.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the connections to other tribes. One of the things that you and I talked about briefly in the last meeting we had a couple of weeks ago was about the Karen tribe.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this because it was connected to a movie that was very famous by Sylvester Stallone called Rambo.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your connection to the Karen tribe, or if there is any kind of continued connection even today.
Yeah. So the Union of Burma is made up of 8 different ethnicities, and Karen is one of them, and we are one of them. And one of our connection is that we both are predominantly Christians. And the Karen people used to be really influential in Burma. And there's even a history that says that they almost took over the government back in the Civil War. But of course, there's a Chin battalion who were in part of government military, and they, because of them, they did not have a chance to take that over. So there's like how do I say, a stigma between 2 tribes, and only because we're Christians we have this smooth, but not that smooth relationship between these 2 tribes. And I believe the United States also have lots of Korean community in this area. And one of the sad things is that most of the Korean people who came to the United States grew up in the jungle in Thailand, where they have to flee from the Burmese government. And one of the good things that we have right now is, like I said, we're both Christians, and we're both in Burma, we're both refugees, and so that we have this common ground where we can work together.
That's a good thing. You know, the difficulties that we face as humans in this earth, you know, because of human sin and so on, are difficult to overcome. But it's always nice, especially in your case, to hear about these 2 tribes that do have the same spiritual sustenance.
Yeah, that's right. And we're not the only 2 tribes. There are also what we call Kachin tribes. They're also here. They're also historically, it's been reported that we, in fact, were brothers, and we are the elder, the Chin, and the Chin are the younger, and they're also being oppressed by the government, even more oppressed by the government than the Chin people, as far as the statistics are concerned. And they've been here for a while. And so Karen, Kachin, and Chin, we're both, three of us are Christian, predominantly Christians, all refugees. And government, so U.S. government has been gracious enough to take most of refugees.
It's marvelous. I wanted to switch gears just for a few moments to talk about your church in particular, and ask you, as it relates to your church, what do you do there? What is your major ministry?
So we have 4 pastors, full-time 4 pastors, and we have 3 staff members. One is what we call Christian Education Director. The other one is Office Secretary, and the other one is Custodian. So we have 7 full-time employees at the church. And I, as the youngest and the most inexperienced pastor, or the youngest pastor, has to deal with mostly youth group and Sunday school groups. And since I have this ability to speak both languages, since I'm bilingual, I've been helping church members with their hospital bills, and with their issues with governments or DCS or reports or with things like that. So those are my main area. And one of the things that my focus area is with youth group, and I will write a Bible study curriculum, and I will help lead the leaders, and then I'll pray with them and counsel with them and help them with like almost everything they need. And
you're very busy.
I'm a busy man. Yeah. And I also am since you mentioned about busy, I'm also right now a board secretary of our community, what we call Change Community of Indiana.
Wow. So
we are the community who serve 20,000 people. And also work there. And we have, almost once a week meeting. This lasts for about 2 or 3 hours long.
Man. And on top of that, you're also a student.
Yes, I'm also a student at ITS. Right.
Yeah. Tell them what ITS is.
ITS in Apostolic Seminary is a seminary. Right now, the current president is Nicholas Petrovsky, who used to be like my mentor, professor back in the First Bible College. Now, what do they call now? Like College of Biblical Studies?
Yeah, College of Biblical Studies.
Yeah. So I took like 7 or 8 courses with Nicholas Petrovsky, and right after I graduated, I spoke with him, and he said that they have like seminary, and he's like a current president. So instead of going out of state, since I got a job at church, I decided to go to ITS right now, and it's like my 3rd year, and I've been taking 16 classes. One of Christian thought one of the class, and it's been great.
Yeah,
students are real smart professors, very smart, and they're very welcoming, and I learn a lot from professors and from students.
It was great to have you in class this summer. So Pastor Van's talking about the course that I taught there called Christian Thought. Also was one of your profs at Crossroads Bible College back in the day, back in 2010 or
2012.
2012.
Yeah. You were my professor of Old Testament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this kind of connection and the wonder of these connections is really powerful and important. And one of the things that we always want to say to people is, one of the greatnesses of a place like Indianapolis is that we can have these kinds of connections. I'm going to be taking a 1-song break, but when we come back, I want to talk more about education and specifically about the young people that you serve there. And I wanted to also, just to kind of put it in your mind, the concept of how do they think about being in this country? You obviously came in refugee status, some of them probably born here. want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
We're going to take a one-song break. You're listening to Warp and Woof Radio, RadioNext.tv at the Cool Groove site. Facebook Live, we'll stay with you. Podcast, we'll be right back. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Looks like we got some great comments. What do we got, HB?
We have Donna and Beth Workman. Would you give me an idea of what your church strategy is regarding the evangelistic outreach as it relates to your community? Thank you.
So, evangelistic outreach. Don and Beth. Don was my roommate in college.
Oh, really?
Long time ago. So we're talking about the late a long time ago, the late 1970s. So Don, if you're still listening, yeah, we'll address that. We'll ask Pastor Van to address that particular issue. Since we're on break, do you want to talk about that now? What your focus on evangelism is?
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing right now is that we have issues within our community, from our community, which is that our middle school students and high school students are very confused, and now they are doing drugs and robberies and stuff. So we have like 40 to 45 churches within our community, and all of these churches are alarmed that our youth, our youngsters, are following this path. So we kind of realize now that our ministry should focus instead or more towards these youngsters. Before then, most of our churches focus mainly to the home country, the Chin State. Like, how could we help them? Like, how can we build a strong relationship with people at home and things like that. Like, even in meetings, most of the agendas that we're talking about is how can we help them, and how can we, have this better relationship. And in the meantime, we've lost our youngsters. We don't really know. First, it's not that we don't want to serve them; it's just that we don't really know how. Because most of our parents are born. All of them are born in Burma. And they don't really have this necessary cultural backgrounds and educational backgrounds to equip them to minister to our youngsters. And that's why they have this bad companions or friends at school, or influenced by media, what they watch. And now our communities are the word you use that I really want is terrorized by those youngsters. It's like twice, third week we've heard this news that, this house, this family members, this store has been robbed and things like that. I hope you heard the news about like a month ago or so that at Whiteland there's a gun store has been robbed, and about 33 guns have been lost. And the suspects the police suspected that there are 5 people who broke into, and they believe that they're from the community. But they don't really know who they are, but that's what we are facing right now. So before we go to minister, other people, let's say, like Caucasian, community or Hispanic community, we have to do an outreach to our youth, our youngsters, our college students, our high school students, and middle school students, because that's like one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now. That's why we need to have young pastors who has this passion to minister to youth, who also grew up in this culture and know the cultures, and that's what we've been lacking in our community. That is an urgent need.
Yeah. Part of what we had talked about actually was and the last time we were together was about the problem that we have in connecting with people that are outside of our own culture. So in my case, for instance, can I be of help with the folks that are from your church that are going to IUPUI, for instance? And that, I think, is really powerful and important, the opportunities that we have to serve each other in that way.
One of the things that we do kind of outreach to your community, like outside of our community, is that to...
Are we back on? We are back. Warp and Woof Radio, RadioNext.tv at the Cool Groove site. We are here from Wednesdays, 11 to 11:50. And here today, Pastor Van is with us from the Chin Community Church south of Indianapolis in Southport. Glad for his presence. We were just talking, the reason why we sounded a bit interrupted there, we were just talking on Facebook Live about some of the issues facing the Chin community and specifically the youth in that particular community. And I wanted to pick back up on that, Pastor, with you and talk about that. One of the things we talked about when we were together last time was about the parents who came in refugee status. So in the first segment of our show, we talked about that. These folks came to this country. Many of them do not necessarily speak English.
Yes.
But their children growing up in this country now are not only bilingual, but they're bicultural, and they don't have the same kind of traditional connections to your culture and even the Christian culture as your parents have had. So talk a little bit about what the prognosis is for you and the way forward in terms of ministering to young people.
Yeah, one of the things that our parents have been struggled with is, of course, a language barrier. So we have what we call English ESL, and our parents, some of them are willing to learn, but of course, since they're adults now, it's really hard to pick up language like the way their children do, and that's one of the things that we have issue. The second thing is that we are hardworking people. We don't want to rely on government assistance, so they work really hard. They work overtime, work 2 jobs and things like that. So they don't really have time to spend with their kids. And the gap and the relationship has been marred by this issue. That's why this problem that we're facing is coming up. That's a result of that. First is language barrier. Second is that parents don't have time for their kids because they have to work and provide a family to pay bills, help families back home. So and right now what we're doing right now is, like I said, our ministry focus shift from home to this home, not the home in Burma. And secondly, we are educating our parents how to help deal with their kids, and how to the needs that they have to. They have this willingness to learn the language and the culture, and they have to get involved more with their kids' life. And we just started, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. We're very hopeful that it'll be beneficial for both kids and for parents.
Well, one of the things, I'll say on air, and certainly, you and I have talked about this before, is I'm happy to help at IUPUI as I'm able to do that. Continue to encourage your young people to seek me out and connect with me. And
one of the students right after that meeting, most of them texted me, told me that she was very grateful for that meeting. Good. And she's looking forward to talk to you and to sit with you, and I'm so thankful for that meeting. And I encourage them to talk to you because I know who you are, and you can be a big help for them, not only for their academic life, but also for their spiritual life. So I really encourage them to go and spend time with you.
Yeah, please do, and have them use my cell phone number and text me.
So they all have their business card, so they'll be able to communicate with you.
It really is, and so this goes back to why the show exists. That is to bridge cultures, but also to help each other around Indianapolis, to make the connections so that I can say, hey, is there something I can do for you? And is there something you can do for us? I mean, just you being here in the program today is marvelous and good to take your time to make sure that this happened today. Those things, are really important. And I want to say that again to everybody out there listening. I appreciate the fact that there are so many different folks from around Indianapolis who are willing to spend some time with us on Wednesday mornings to actually make this thing happen. It certainly gives us a bridge, but it also gives us a foundation for the future for the Christian churches in and around Indianapolis. We had talked a little bit about the educational necessities for your young people. And one of the real joys, frankly, that Friday night when I was with you and with your young people was their interest in so many different fields of study.
Yes.
I just love that stuff.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the kind of direction that some of those young people are going to go.
Yeah, before we talk about those are the youngsters that we have, the students that we have to talk about the quality of education back in Burma.
Okay.
That I and most of my parents acquired. The illiteracy rate is really high in our community. Most of our parents did not have a chance to go to school. Even if they did, their teachers could not give them like necessary tools to navigate through their life. And I think that's mainly because, like I said, our government, the military government, strategically focus our Chin State because we are mostly Christians and we are a minority. We don't share their culture. We don't speak their language. So we've been systematically oppressed through economy and education. So our parents really got hurt by that. And when we come to the United States, even though they're not themselves educated persons, they will encourage all their children to go to high school, get a diploma, go to college, acquire bachelor's and even master's and things like that. And I'm so thankful to our parents because even though they don't really know how to help them, they at least encourage them and urge their children to go to college. And thankfully, I think we have very high percentage who would love to continue to higher education once they graduate from high school. And I believe one stats that I found conducted by BACI, Burmese American Community Institute, was like 80 to 90% of high school graduates are going to college.
That's great.
So most of our children, our kids, are go to University of Indianapolis, IU Bloomington, IU PUI, and my brother and a few others go to Purdue University. Yeah, something like that. So they've been spreading all around, all over the place, and as long as they have the opportunity to go to high school here in the United States, most of them choose to go to college because they know how hard it is for their parents to not have education to navigate through their life. And and they are also smart. We have lots of students who are in high school, were part of the who are in that like top 5 or top 10 areas. And even principals and faculties and teachers are very grateful for their kids and their academic, pursuit. So,
do you think that the parents' work ethic in work has transferred to the students' work ethic in school?
Yes, I would absolutely say that yes. Most of our parents, like I said, are really hardworking, and they don't want to have issues with the boss or like team leaders or supervisor because they don't really know how to say it or communicate with them. So they will try their best to work really hard, and that ethic, like you said, is transferred to most of their kids, and we're very grateful for that.
And the difficulty, of course, is that if you're working all the time, you don't have time to spend with your children. Then there's got to be something that takes that place.
Yes, that's right. That's why we've been talking about how we need to have youth pastors or ministers or youth leaders who would have time for their kids at weekends or even on weekdays to be able to communicate with this students,
Sure.
so that they can help them spiritually, and morally.
And that
Things like that.
the opportunity maybe then even to have getting pastors that have an academic background as
Yes.
well to encourage that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they will look at that. Students will look at who you are and your education background and how they will perceive you as like if they see you as a person who can help them out, they will approach you, or they will they will want to sit with you and talk with you. But if you are not the type of person, they kind of know that they are not interested.
Right.
To talk with you.
Yeah. Your opportunity at Indianapolis Theological Seminary to take more classes is going to produce what kind of degree for you?
Master of Divinity.
So an MDiv. then-
Yeah, MDiv, and I've been thinking about like going to some other college to pursue
PhD?
or PhD. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And other subject matter as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been.
Well, when the time comes, you want to talk about that, let me know.
I
I'll
will
talk with you.
surely talk to you about that. Yeah.
Do you have any sense of what kind of studies you'd like to pursue after the MDiv?
I'm thinking about New Testament because in our community as a whole, we have pastors who are ahead of us. Most of them, we don't really have many PhDs graduate. We have quite a few, but they're from their field as missiology and leadership, and we don't, as far as I'm concerned, we don't really have a New Testament
Theological base.
base. So I'm thinking about doing following that path.
Good. This is really fantastic. One of the things I think that I tell people all the time, guys like yourself, is when you acquire that terminal degree, you will automatically become a national leader within your own group, your own community, simply because of the letters after your name. I tell young African American guys the same thing. I tell them, look, you go and get that doctorate so that you can then teach and you can have the influence.
Yes.
Guys like me, I'm always trying to push people from other cultures to engage more education so that they can have a standing in their community. I think about this like with, let's say, Gerson Cardona. Do you remember Gerson from Crossroads Bible College? Hispanic background, Guatemalan native. And I would say the same thing to him or to anybody. And that is, once you get that terminal degree after your name, you will have a standing in your community and elsewhere, and everybody will come and ask you to come speak for them. English speaking conferences because they want to hear from a different culture.
That's totally true. And even like some students that I talked to from our church, so I asked them, what's your purpose of pursuing this degree? And the thing that they would say is, first of all, I can help myself. I can sit on my own feet, and I'll be able to help my parents. And third thing, I'll be able to help, home environment. And fourthly, lastly, in this country, you have to have, a degree to be able to, engage with people who are an influence. Of influential people in this country, so you have to have certain degrees from university, so that you'll be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with other people.
Right. And it matters in a culture like ours, which has so many subcultures within it. So we talked early on in the first segment about what it means to be an American and the greatness of this United States and so on. But now we also understand that we have such a diverse population in this United States.
Yes.
And that's good because it demonstrates to the rest of the world that we are inclusive in that sense of things.
Yes.
But it also says to us that we have an awful lot of big jobs to do to connect with each other.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what we've been trying to educate our community members to not isolate themselves, isolate ourselves. We have to get more involved with other community members, with Caucasians, African American people, and Hispanic. And we as pastors and leaders have been trying to encourage parents to have this will to assimilate or to learn these cultures and other cultures as well, explore other cultures as well, because we're here, whether you like it or not. We're with different people.
That's right.
And so you have to be able to engage with those other people, because you have to meet them in your workplace, in a gas station, a restaurant. So you can't just isolate it yourself, right? That's why.
This is one of the things I tell as a Euro-American. I'm telling Euro-American office folks all the time that you have to make an intentional move to other people. And because you are the dominant group in this particular culture, especially as Christians, you bear that much more responsibility to reach out to other people.
That's true, and that's what I've been trying to encourage students, high school students and college students to, as Christians, when you go to college campus, when you go to high school, you have to remind yourself of who you are, ethnically, who you are spiritually, so that you can, witness better Christ, like through your speech. And one of the things that you said that I really like about is to study hard, to write good papers. Teachers, your professors, or your classmates will come and approach you, and why you're doing so good. And that's how you can share other people who you are and what your belief is and things like that. So,
it matters. Pastor Van is talking about one of the statements that I made in reference to the group that I met with, some of the young people at going to IUPUI, and talking about how do you do evangelization on the campus at IUPUI, and I told them that I try to write really good papers. And the reason for that is because when you're on a university campus, that's the attractive nature of what we do there. To be researchers, to be writers, to be communicators. And so your professors care about that.
Yeah, that's right. And to pick up on our early conversation about how we motivate our students by parents and by leaders to pursue academic life in this country, is by bringing them back to Burma, so that when they see things over there, how education is, how our economy is, how everything is, and now when they come back, they do not take things for granted anymore. They have this urgency. I need to work hard, and this is the great country. It's the greatest country, so I have to acquire as much as I can. Things. Most of the children that we have were born here don't even know how things are outside of this country.
Right.
So when parents bring them back to where they were born, their origin, now they know that they're very fortunate and they have this opportunity and at the same time responsibilities to cultivate that. And that's what we're going to do even next year. We'll bring 10 college students with 2 or 3 adults and myself. We'll bring those students back to Burma and to evangelize, first of all, and to share our experience to our community back home and to learn from them. And what the leader's intention was to help them understand how fortunate they are to be here in the United States, so that they can use this opportunity to help not only our community members, but also other community members as well. Yeah,
that's so important, and I wish that every culture would have the same kind of outlook to take folks to other places to help them to realize how good they have it,
Yeah.
in the place.
Yeah, you're right. And even myself, since I was born and grew up in Burma, I realized that I did not have that opportunity back home. But right over here, I have no restrictions. I have no strings that try to stop me from pursuing dreams. So that's why when I came here, I taught myself how to speak English, how to read, how to write, and go to college and try my best to pursue everything that the United States have to offer. And that's what I wanted to transfer to the students, children who are born here and raised here. You have opportunity. Go have and pursue it and make the best thing out of it.
It's great. We're really grateful for your presence here today, Pastor Van. Thanks so much for taking the time with us to be here and to talk these things through. Thanks too for not only for your connection to this country through refugee status and explaining to people what that meant for you, but also this connection to young people and taking them back to their country to show them the comparison. It's just a phenomenal way to go about it.
Yeah, I'm grateful for this opportunity to share my experience and what our community has been doing. And I have to congratulate myself because this is my first time a radio interview in my life. And thanks.
You did a great job.
Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
it just became a conversation.
Yeah,
That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Warp and Woof Radio, RadioX.TV at the Cool Groove site. We come to you on Wednesdays from 11 to 11:50. I will be out of town the next 2 Wednesdays, however, so we're going to be putting out some podcasts. We'll make sure that Pastor Van's podcast is the first one out next week. We can hear this great statement again from this great man in Indianapolis. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Do check out our websites, warpandwoof.org, comeniusinstitute.org.com, or go to YouTube and find the Comenius Institute there. Until the next time, blessings.